I begin, as always, in the matchless name of Jesus. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time around. I'm just going to give you my stance on a character, and this, and and whether or not I like her or not. This one's going to be on Laurel Lance. Basically, my stance on her character and things like that. So here goes. There are three types of characters within a TV show, a book, a comic book, or movie. There are popular characters, there are hated characters, and there are divisive characters. Popular characters are characters whom 60 to 70% of the fandom or more loves. That character may have its detractors, but at the end of the day, that character has more fans than detractors. There are hated characters. Characters whom 60 to 70% of the fandom or more hates. That character may have fans, but he or she has more detractors than fans. And then there are characters who are there are divisive characters. Characters whom 50% of the fandom loves, 50% of the fandom hates. These type of characters have just as much fans as much as they do detractors. This is where Laurel Lance is. Laurel Lance is one of the most widely divisive characters on the show called Arrow. And I basically just want to show you my stance on her. So yeah, here goes. Basically, I should say that Laurel Lance, the writing for her has been very messed up from the moment the show started. She would have a very widely differing characterization. One moment she was a nice person, the next moment she was basically she acted like a prick a lot. And in regards to Oliver, at one moment she was very kind and polite to Oliver, and the other times she was a prick. She was viciously attacking him. And in the case of Oliver's secret identity, there were times where she was basically his Commissioner Gordon, and other times she was totally against him. Basically, it confused a lot of people, and the Laurel Whiplash may have caused a little bit of hatred in people, but it didn't affect my opinion of the character. I was basically a little bit tolerable of Laurel, and at times I didn't hate her, but she wasn't my favorite character. Her moments with Tommy were very, very great. Very great. And very great. He brought out the best in Laurel. And Laurel gave him direction and purpose. They brought out the best in each other, essentially. So you can imagine how torn up Laurel was when Tommy died in season 1, episode 23, Sacrifice, the season 1 finale. Unfortunately, this caused my opinion of her to go down, very down. So it starts off with her basically blaming the Arrow for his death, for Tommy's death, when never mind the fact that it's her fault to begin with. And she starts this anti-vigilante crusade. So she stops it all in Broken Dolls when she realizes that if she hadn't been at CNRI when the place was coming down, essentially, place was coming down, Tommy would have still been alive. So, yeah. Unfortunately, that doesn't get better because she just starts dealing with the grief of Tommy through pills, booze, and blaming everybody but herself. It all culminates in her basically when she finds out her sister's alive, she just says, you stole my life away from me, essentially. I was like, Laurel, shouldn't you be more happy that your sister's alive? And I was also like, no, Laurel, your sister didn't steal your life away from you. That was you. You did that yourself. So basically, it made me very happy when Oliver eviscerated her verbally in season 2, episode 14, Time of Death. Loved it. Loved it. And it caused her to work her way back up to the top. And then she finds out Oliver's secret identity in episode 18 of season 2, Deathstroke, and she becomes a big help to the team. She helps out. She finds out that Slade had Moira killed so that Blood could become mayor, and basically tells Oliver that, and that causes him to not turn himself into Slade Wilson. Although I did not like her "I know who you are" in your bones speech. I'm like, no, you don't, Laurel. Stop acting like you do. So basically, I did not like Laurel's alcoholic addiction, the way she deal with her grief of Tommy in season 2. And I personally think she should have stayed within as a lawyer. Just going out helping as a lawyer. Team Arrow could use a person in the district attorney office to help them out. So, and they should have let her sister go out and do the fighting with the team on the field as Black Canary. Unfortunately, the writers disagreed with me, and they had Sarah Lance off in the season 3 premiere. That made me angry, and it just caused her. And as I looked through that thing about that season, I just realized Laurel did not learn to grieve in a healthy way. Because when we look at season 2, we can all agree that blaming others for your own problems that you caused and taking booze and pills is not a good way to deal with your grief. Not a healthy way. And she did not learn to deal with her grief in a healthy way. It's like putting on your... It's like in season... And it causes her to get her butt kicked badly in season 3, episode 3, Corto Maltese. And basically, Ted Grant sums it up during the montage in season 3, episode 5, Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke, when he says, "You're just when they're boxing," he's like, "You're basically just lashing out." Essentially, that's basically what she did all season. That was basically more or less. She was just handling her grief by going out there to fight bad guys with little training at all. Not a healthy way to grieve the death of your sister. Maybe I would have found it more believable if she had just spent a time in like the Arrow Cave or the Foundry, just basically grieving her sister. We just focused on one episode of her grieving her sister without her going out there to fight. Instead, they just decided to go out there and have her kick butt. And it was just like, it came off as her finding a way to deal with her grief. Oliver more or less pointed that out to her, that basically her going out there the fight was basically, it wasn't going to help her out with her emotional problems that she had over the death of her sister. And he was right. So yeah, unfortunately, it gets worse in season 4. Much worse. When she finds out that Thea Queen was dumped into the Lazarus pit and healed of her wound, she decides to get the idea to go to take her sister's grave, dig into her sister's grave, take her sister's dead corpse, take it over to Nanda Parbat. So yeah, she's basically to try and heal her, bring her back to life. So I'm like, Laurel, I want Sarah back just as much as you. I know you missed your sister, but when Malcolm Merlin and rewind. I'm like, you've seen what the pit has done to Thea. That has turned her into a person driven by bloodlust. If I lost somebody and I saw somebody who had been dumped into the pit and they displayed those sort of symptoms, I would be like, nope, I'm not bringing them back into putting them in the pit. Not with, no matter how much I may miss them. But Laurel, out of obstinacy, just decides to wants her dumped into the pit anyway, and Malcolm decides to do so. do so eventually, and she comes back wrong as usual. So, and also, it's like, it's just a foolish and selfish move that Laurel's trying to do to ease her own grief. I just feel like that's all it's been. All about her focusing on her grief. That was how it was in season 2 when she was grieving Tommy, and how it was more or less in season 3 when she was grieving Sarah. And now it's culminating, displaying itself right here with her selfish desire to, and rather idiotic choice to bring back Sarah, to ease her grief. And it just gets worse in episode 5, Haunted, when, she sticks her sister, she chains up her sister in a basement and doesn't tell any of Team Arrow when she probably should have an inkling that this is gonna go out of hand and stuff like that. So, and when she does get out, she starts going after innocent people, including Thea herself. Laurel doesn't tell Team Arrow about it for a week. And when Oliver is forced to clean up her mess, all Laurel does is accuse her for judging her and never considering her equal, and accusing him of not caring about her family or think everything about her feelings. Like, she's acting like this self-centered, petulant child right now. So, while Oliver's sister is in a hospital bed and several innocent girls who look like Thea are being mourned by their families because of Laurel's actions. And Oliver spent 3 straight seasons protecting the Lance family while they've been berating him for his mistakes for nearly a decade before. Meanwhile, Quentin's cops have seen the dead bodies and have a general clue of what the killer looks like. And he's told Dark Sarah was back, so Dark's sure to realize what happened. While Laurel's actually put Quentin further under Dark's control. And so essentially, Laurel's actions make things worse for her family. She just brought her sister back. Her selfish desires just make things worse. And all she can think about is how Oliver won't accept her at all. It's just enough to make me hope that Laurel is in that grave. In the grave that Oliver was looking at in the season 4 premiere. Fortunately, there is proof. There is some strong evidence that it is Laurel in that grave. I'll put the link. There are 2 articles proving that. I'll put the links to those articles in the description. So basically, my stance on Laurel is, I hate her. She's just a girl who's just focused on her own. Just focuses a lot on herself, and she wouldn't even accept her guilt in the situation concerning bringing Sarah back to life, and how she just focuses on herself. While she has had her awesome moments of kicking butt, it doesn't change the fact that she's been focused on herself at the expense, and her grief at the expense of other people. The only reason why I'm not interested, I may not want her dead, is because I think Quentin Lance has suffered enough. He suffered the death of his daughter twice. While she wasn't dead the first time, it still was a loss for him. But still, hopefully Donna Smoke, Felicity's mom, can comfort him if she dies. So again, I hate Laurel, and I hope she is in that grave that Oliver looked at in season 4 premiere. Why? Because she is shown so far these four seasons, particularly seasons 2, 3, and 4, that she's just focused on her own grief at the expense of other people, and she focuses on herself at the expense of other people. All right, that's all for this video.